Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the ECB Focus session. Today's topic will be preparing for the go-live of Pontes. My name is Aylin, and I'm here with a great team of ECB colleagues, and we will try to guide you through everything you need to know about the go-live of Pontes during these 2 hours this morning. It's summer holiday, so we are really happy to have such a high interest in today's event anyway. So we are really pleased to have you all joining us this morning for a few intense hours. Before we dive into the topic of today, I just want to run you through a few practical pieces of information. We are live streaming today's event. Due to some technical issues, everyone is in the live stream, but do not worry, there's no difference whatsoever for you. You will all be able to engage with us via the same ways that you normally engage with us. You can ask all your questions via the QR code that is shown on the screen right now. So basically, what I would advise you to do is take your phone, scan the QR code, and then during the session, you can submit questions when they pop up. I think we will try to cover everything, but of course, it's always good that you have the opportunity to, clarify things. So please shoot the questions when you have them. You can also send us email via our mip.events@ecb.europa.eu. So maybe take a screenshot of that, or, so you have it for later, take a photo. These are the two ways to submit questions. Please do so. We will try to pick up as many of them as possible. We know from past experience that we may receive a lot of questions, so we will not be able to cover all of them today, but we will do our best to do so. Also know that the NCB is always there to support you. So in case anything that we did not answer today, you are always welcome also to contact them. Then I just want to give you a quick sneak peek of the program today. So you see it's a super interesting program. 2 intense hours. We will dive into everything here on the Pontes Go Live. And then at the end, we will have the latest on the APIA program as well. So very interesting for you. Then before we really get started, I just want to highlight how you can keep up to speed about what's going on this program. On the next slide, you will see how you can engage with us. And there's different ways to do it. You can either follow our new LinkedIn page. So we will encourage all of you to do it. Many of you know that we have had the LinkedIn group, but now we have moved this into a page. So we will encourage all of you to follow the page. It's a great page with everything you need to know about everything we do at the ECB with regards to market infrastructure and payment. So again, take your little phones, scan the QR code, and connect to us there. You can also follow us on X, or you can subscribe to our newsletter, which is an email newsletter, also via the QR code, and you can register here. So these are the ways to follow us. And that's basically all that I wanted to say before we get started on the actual session of today. So the first speaker of today, I'm really happy to have our new program manager for Pontes and APIA with us today, André Brunner. So I'm really pleased to have you on board, and I want to hand over to you, André, and let you do the welcome address. So André, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ellen, and good morning and welcome everyone to today's focus session. My name, as Ellen said, is André Brunner, and I recently joined European Central Bank on 1st of June as program manager for Pontes and APIA. So far, I've worked in the area of digital asset and tokenization in the private sector, and now I'm very excited for the opportunity to now support this initiative as part of the team of the European Central Bank. I'm pleased to meet all of you for this focus session, and it's great to see such a strong interest, as Ellen said, in Pontes and APIA, with more than 600 registrations, I believe, coming from 30 plus different countries. I personally think this is another piece of evidence for the growing adoption of DLT tokenization and the unique opportunity for European financial markets to become more integrated and efficient. In the past and today, the market participants have sent us a clear signal. The availability of central bank money is essential for a broader adoption of tokenization. And here, Pontes and APIA will come into play. Firstly, we will provide a risk-free settlement asset as of September 2026, when the new Eurosystem service Pontes will become available, linking market DLT platforms with target services. This will enable settlement of DLT wholesale transactions and central bank money. And in this regard, I'm very happy to announce that we're working towards the 21st of September as go live for Pontes, with the caveat that the final confirmation will be given in early September after the conclusion of the tests with the users. And secondly, we are progressing on APIA, whereby we will be designing a future ecosystem together with the market, building on the potential of tokenization and addressing the whole value chain from issuance to settlement. This part of the work will result in the so-called APIA blueprint in 2028. Now, for me, it's really important to emphasize that Pontes and APIA go hand in hand and form together one program. Last March, we published the APIA roadmap, outlining how we plan to shape the European tokenized financial ecosystem. Pontes will now be the first core component of this ecosystem. We will continue developing Pontes based on the learnings from practical and analytical work in APIA and in line with the evolution of the APIA blueprint. And at the same time, we will design APIA keeping in mind the continuous experience we gained with Pontes. And the market, actually you all, have a key role to play here. Market engagement and the exchange with all of you is and will increasingly be at the heart of this work. We will build on this market practical experience from Pontes, and we will jointly experiment and design the future ecosystem. Now, as Ellen started already, let's have a little bit of a closer look at today's agenda. Today's focus session, we will begin with a closer look at the forthcoming launch of Pontes. George Kaloropoulos, chair of the Pontes Market Contact Group, will present the current status of Pontes and how Pontes will be continuously enhanced. He will also share some first insights into expected use cases. Afterwards, Vitus Rossmann from the ECB testing team will present more details about how participants can prepare for user testing planned to be started in August. Matej Messar from our Market Infrastructure Management Division will provide an overview of the operational framework for Pontes once it goes live, as well as an update on the legal framework for its initial launch. And in the last part, Holger Nauhaus and Polka Radar will give the latest from the APIA program. They will share initial insights from the recent public consultation on the APIA roadmap, outline the key elements of the forthcoming analytical and practical work on tokenization, and explain how we envision shaping the program in close collaboration with market participants and other public stakeholders. I hope we will all have a productive, engaging sessions today. And with that, George, over to you.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Andre. And with this very good introduction, allow me to have a little bit of a deep dive on more or less what you highlighted. So I want to spend a few words about where we stand today, what will happen in the coming months, and what the market participants can expect after the initial launch. If we can move on, perhaps on the presentation, on the next slide, what is important is to highlight that the solution is already developed and is in the process of being fine-tuned. Some of you are aware that there was a solution to some extent reused and built upon what you saw in 2024 in the trials and experiments. And of course, we are fine-tuning and I will say a few more words on that in a minute on the actual model, but we are fine-tuning the functionalities in view of testing. What is important is that we have intensified the engagement with the market since October 2025, and this is reflected in the Pontes Market Contact Group. Some of you are aware. involving 50 participants from the market, and also using a full transparency model, I would say, where whatever we discuss in this group is also immediately available on the website of the ECB. As Andre just mentioned, we are in the process of fine-tuning and finalizing the testing. A lot of internal Eurosystem testing has taken place in the previous weeks, and Vitus will tell us in a moment the detailed planning of the user testing, where the communities, the national communities of the national central banks, will need to deep dive into some of the use cases. And indeed, we are focusing on the go-live preparation for the 21st of September. Why this milestone is very important, and I hope that the presentation is also moving a bit more. It's important, I would say, for three key reasons. The first one being that we have a new capability provided by the Eurosystem in central bank money, which allows the market to innovate on use cases, and some would even use the word experiment. But what is important, it happens in real production environment. Safety comes from the use of the risk-free settlement asset, the central bank money asset. And this is something that it was a very strong message with the market in the past 10 months, I would say. The final important element and consideration about this milestone is that this is rooted in strong, clear European governance. I don't need to go into the very well-known geopolitical context in which financial markets are operating these days, but it's a clear EU public authority decision, but also clear market request that this is deeply rooted on European, let's say, governance and decision-making. A very quick recap on what exactly the model looks like, and I see that the slides are still a bit stuck. May need to move to slide 14, by the way. What we are planning to, can even go to the next slide. What we can plan exactly. Thank you very much. To develop and deliver as a very quick, I would say, overview is starting from the right-hand side. We're talking about DLT eligible DLT platforms and operators of these platforms and market participants, which will be certified, authorized by the national central banks to connect to the Pontes initial loans. What the Eurosystem will offer is the interface based on the latest API application programming interfaces to allow the settlement of tokenized assets outside the target services to be settled, to have the payment cash leg, either on the Eurosystem DLT, on the tokenized form of the central bank money, or directly in target tool, in T2. This is a known dual settlement model, which will continue to exist. It took place during the trials and experiments in 2024, and it will continue to exist at least for 2 years after the go live. What is important here is to highlight that basically there will be no changes, I would say, to the interface, the knowledge, the experience, I would say your treasurers have on the core T2 liquidity management. But what is important is that the Eurosystem will provide the interface for funding and defunding the Eurosystem tokenized cash wallets, what you see here in the middle layer. Moving a bit further to the timeline, a visualization of the timeline in the next slide, and Andre touched upon that. The important message here is that there is a single a roadmap and work program focusing on the long term, starting with the APIA roadmap and launch paper publication in March, targeting the blueprint that in close collaboration with the market, we want to establish at least by 2021. And this will look into the long-term developments and solutions that the Eurosystem may consider. Today, of course, especially on the first part of the session, we're focusing on the lower part, on the Pontes, and on the iterations thereof in 2027 and 2028. It's very important to clarify once more that by mid-2027, we are going to enhance what has been a very strong market request in the last 12 months and a very strong focus point, I would say, on automatizing and make immediately available the settlement finality on the tokenized cash wallets in the Eurosystem TLT functionality. There will be finality in central bank money also from September, but with some workarounds and with some additional steps, either at the end of the day, refunding back to T2 or during the day with manual procedures. We know this is not ideal, and this is why more or less, I would say 8 to 10 months after the go live, we want to enhance it and bring immediate settlement finality on the Eurosystem TLT module in full alignment to the rest of the target services. The next important development for 2027 is to align further the Pontes offering to the operating hours of the T2, the RTGS, let's say the core payment system for wholesale transactions in the Eurosystem. At the moment, this is 22.5 hours for the 5 business days. But as you can see on this slide, by 2028, we want to start working towards a more 24/7 solution, which is what is to be expected in this I would say, new tokenized framework and environment. One clarification here, which very often we have faced with the market when we're discussing this element, the 24/7 availability is not simple a technical solution, a technical challenge. Equally important, it's a challenge for monetary policy, for the treasury departments of your institutions, for alignment with the rest of the target services. I'm referring to collateral availability, retail payments, wholesale payments, remuneration on the balance sheet of the NCB. So my point here is that we are working towards the 24/7 holy grail, if I can use the expression, but we'll have to do it in a structure, a way that takes into account all side effects and potential impacts on the European financial market infrastructure and on the liquidity management. The additional enhancements, which are very important for 2028, cover the multi-currency possibility, availability. As you know, target services are by design developed as multi-currency. And as we speak today, already the Danish krona and the Swedish krona are part of the TIPS and T2 to some extent, but more currencies are joining the target services. The final element of intensive work for the further enhancement 2028 looks into how liquidity is managed, the availability to have overnight liquidity and use the, let's say, aligned to the usual functionalities of the target services and T2, but also probably very important for the systemic acceptability, I would say, and further support of tokenization in the financial market is the immediate, let's say, involvement and participation of the balances on the tokenized cash wallet in the reserve requirements of the counterparties to monetary policy. I think this is a very important element, and it would bring at this time the DLT pilot solution into alignment with the rest of the target services. If we move to the next slide, an important focus area that we both discussed with the market the last 12 months, but also we have reflected in the system documentation you can see on the website. There's even a reference on this slide, refers to the exact use cases that the Pontes initial launch will cover. At very high level, we can speak about the typical DVP or delivery versus payment use cases, where basically the delivery of a tokenized asset outside the target services can only take place if and only if the payment, the cash leg, is taking place on the central bank money side of Pontes. What is the same equivalent, let's say, model is followed for the payment versus payment, the PVP. And what is important to clarify here is that the Pontes solution will orchestrate and will facilitate the delivery versus payment and the payment versus payment. I will not go into details of cryptographic keys to be exchanged. I think this is not for the, let's say, today's presentation, but there is a very elaborate technical orchestration that the interface is between, again, the external tokenized DLT platforms and Pontes cash leg will organize. Also, so-called single payments or wholesale payments without orchestration between the two legs will also be available as of 21st of September. If we want to speak more on business terms, all the typical primary market operations of a debt issuer or financial instrument issuer can be managed in a typical issuance versus receiving of the fund, delivery versus payment in real time, moving away from the typical T+5, T+2 or 3 today, but also normal trading activities, secondary market transactions can also be covered. It goes the same for corporate action events or any other, again, transaction in tokenized assets outside the Eurosystem Pontes infrastructure. It covers also, and I know there is a strong interest from the market on that, on tokenized deposits and the possibility of, let's say, one or two institutions to exchange tokenized deposits vis-a-vis versus a cash payment in central bank money. The complete list, which is actually quite technical, is also publicly available on the website of the ECB, and I'm sure Elin would highlight that a bit later. Moving to the next slide, one of course can answer what is the benefit? Why should we be involved? Why we should be engaged, and what we're going to get as market, let's say, innovators out of that. We are fully aware that the service in September is only the first iteration. There will be enhancements, it will not be the end product, but we still believe that there's a lot of value for market participants to engage, to settle, to innovate, and to learn from the Pontes initial launch. You can start settling your transactions in the safety of central bank money. You can develop in parallel and innovate further your business cases and your models. But I think the third element is perhaps even more important. You can have lessons learned from the real production environment and not, let's say, moving beyond the trials and experiments. And that would be invaluable experience and feedback, both for your institutions internally, but also very important for the Eurosystem and the national central banks in moving to the next iterations. Connected to that brings me to the next slide, which is focusing on the future market engagement. You know very well in the previous months, we engaged very intensively with some of your institutions in the Pontes market contact group, but also in the new technology for wholesale transactions settlement working group. Both of these contact groups will be replaced as of September by the new APIA contact group, named APIA, indicating the single program. The purpose is to collaborate very closely, both on the Pontes production and evolution, and hear your views about how to, for example, do the change release management or the planning, but also on the API activities. It would be very important to hear your views, feedback, and advice. There is a strong market interest. There was a call of interest 1.5 months ago. We're still looking into the composition. We try to balance between national markets, roles in the market, and let's say involvement within what I just described, the Pontes and APIA. And very soon, I think in the coming days, you're going to hear from us formally on the website of the ECB the exact composition of the group. The first meeting is scheduled for September before the go live, and that will replace the existing, as I said, Pontes and new technology for wholesale settlement groups. To conclude, moving to the next slide, again, it's important perhaps to leave you with two messages. What will go live in production by the end of September is not the end game, but is the start of the journey. We spoke about the enhancements, the iterations in 27, 28, and particularly what the APIA blueprint will advise us to do from there onwards. The second important message is that engagement with the Eurosystem, and by the way, also other EU public authorities that will be part of the group, will be extremely important for us to shape the evolution of Pontes and also the definition of the APIA roadmap. With these words, Eileen, probably I will pause here and happy to take any questions if needed. I'm under your control, Eileen.
Thank you, George. That was a lot of information to start off with at before 10 o'clock in the morning. So I think everyone is waking up here. Thanks so much, George. That was super interesting. We just want to reshare the QR code for the questions. So again, scan the QR code, and this is the way you submit your questions. You can also send an email to us on mip.events@ecb.europa.eu. So these are the two ways to engage with us. Take a photo of this so you have it. Also, when you don't remember the email address, I need to remind myself. It's not an easy one. And again, scan the QR code. So, George, I'm going to let you rest for 2 seconds, and we see, if people have digested all the information you just shared. I want to reiterate maybe that all the material that we're using today can be found on the ECB website after the event. This is both the recording of the live stream, but it's also all the individual presentations. So you will be able to see all the individual presentations afterwards. And this is how to get there. All right. So when you're on the ECB website, you click on Payments Financial Stability tab up at the top. Then you will have quick links. Quick links are important because there's good stuff there. You have payments, news, and events. You click on this, and you get to this fantastic page, which of course should be on your favorites place to go. We have news here, and then we have events. If you click on events highlighted in yellow, you will get to this page. And here we show all the events that we host, all these focus sessions and any other events we may have. This is the place to go. If you click on this, this is where you're watching the live stream right now. So this is what you see, but below here, we will also upload all the individual presentations and the recording afterwards. So it's a lot of takeaways for one morning. So it's good to know that this is there to go back also in case you are halfway on holiday and want to rewatch or see everything again when you come back. That's the place to go. Also, if you forget to save this as your favorite ECB page, you can also follow the LinkedIn group, as mentioned. This is a new group. We have just launched it last week. So I would strongly encourage, sorry, not a group. See, I'm still using the old language. This is the new page, so it's even better. You follow the page. And on this page, you will really be able to get all the details about what happens currently for market infrastructure and payments at the ECB. So this is a great LinkedIn page to follow. So again, scan the QR code. I know it's a lot of QR codes here, but this is the easiest way for everyone to stay connected. So follow that one. I would encourage you to do. And then I just want to quickly check. There's also the other opportunity. You know, I always try to move you to the social media, right? You know this, but you can also still, which I know is something that many of you enjoy, is the newsletter. So you can join the newsletter just by signing up also on our website. You can do it here easily while you're joining this session by scanning the QR code, another QR code, scan the QR code, sign up, and then you will receive these every time we send out news. So great ways to stay up to date on what goes on of anything that we do related to Pontes, Appia, or the target services in general. So again, for today, you ask your questions this way. You scan the QR code or you send us an email. So do you double checking here how it's going? You guys are waking up. This is very good. But we can also, yes, so we have a few questions coming in. So maybe we bring George back with us, and then we take questions here. Yes, you are there with me. Good, George. So I'm not answering by myself. I like to have you with me. So there's questions here. Are corporate payment allowed to be routed through Pontes? So maybe this is something you can enlighten us on, George, please.
Yes. No, thank you, Eileen. My answer will be simple on that. It's not very different to today's world in target services. So you can have the life cycle of an asset and financial instrument. In this case, it's tokenized. You can program also if you want a corporate action. What will happen in Pontes is the cash settlement. So the answer is very simple, and yes, it will be, I would say, simple payments in Pontes. Can I take, Eileen, also another question on there is a question coming up from the market whether it's possible to settle primary TLT bond issuance in Pontes and what are the prerequisites for the issuer. I mean, I will not cover the full primary market ecosystem. It's a very complex one. It uses issuer agent, dealer banks, and a lot of activities. We are not covering that. We are not so ambitious. What we'll cover, again, it's the cash leg of the delivery versus payment of the issuance. There is a process in the issuance where basically the issuer or the issuer agent deliver the securities, and the dealer bank, the consortium, let's say the investor, let's keep it simple, will have to pay the cash. And this cash will, and the exchange of the delivery versus cash is something that will orchestrate as DVP in Pontes. That's the element of the private market we will cover. And the added value is that this can be settled real time, anytime. But of course, what is implied in the question is that a lot of orchestration activities has to take place on the DLT market DLT platform itself to orchestrate the steps around issuance. It will not happen in Pontes. Eileen,
thank you, George. This was great.
Can I try another one? I see another one.
You can try another one.
Thank you for that. There is a very interesting question coming from the CCPs, I assume. And the question is whether the ECB or the Eurosystem will allow the power of attorney for CCPs without limits to instruct. I think this is the typical CCP business model where, at least for some of the participants, there is agreement and power of attorney instruction takes place in T2S today, for example. The answer to that is that as of the go live in September, there will be a functionality, which it's called, I think, in the system documentation, instruct on behalf. It's managed by the onboarding National Central Bank. So please, and that's one of the key messages of the day, Eileen, I think, please be in touch with your National Central Bank to clarify, let's say, the access rights and the limits potentially applicable. But indeed, when we look at the enhancements and the evolution for the Pontes so-called enhanced product in 2028, we're going towards full integration with the target services. And I don't want to describe now the change request and the user requirements in 28, but the idea is to move really closer to what happens today in T2S. Again, that would be something to be engaged in the APIA market contact group. And I would really invite interested parties to speak to your National Central Bank on that.
Thank you, George. Very good. And also, we will continue to do these focus sessions, right, George? So even, we're not going to present everything today because that would be a little bit over the top. So we focus on Pontes today, and then more will come in the future. So I will let you take a short break, George, and then we can compile further questions for you along the way. And then I want to move on in the program, because as George already mentioned, the next presentation will be on user testing and the onboarding. And I'm really happy to have Vitus with us today. So we can bring in Vitus, and he will take over here and take all the technical topics on the testing ahead of us all. So Vitus, over to you.
Yes, indeed. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see that many people are interested in the Pontes Go Live, especially so during the holiday period. My name is Vitus, and I'm collaborating with great colleagues across the Eurosystem on the testing and onboarding for Pontes, so that we can ensure a seamless Go Live, despite the really ambitious timeline, I must admit. Starting already with the content, so I think we can move to the timeline. And many of you that had joined our earlier focus session in February 2026 might already know the high-level content of the slide, but we try to further detail essential steps and milestones that are relevant for you to be able to participate in Go Live. The following slides then also later on will go more into detail on the substance that is actually shown here. So please, if you have questions about any of this, I kindly ask you to be patient until after I finish the presentation, most likely. And then also, if you have still questions afterwards, I'm happy to provide additional answers, obviously. It is also important to highlight here that the dates that you can see here on the slides and also the phases, I mean, besides the fact that the user testing phase will start as of early August, are not necessarily applicable or relevant for you if you don't plan to go live or participate in Go Live on the 21st of September. But still, I think it's important to highlight these here. So just to quickly recap where we are right now, I mean, we are on the 22nd of July, obviously. So as you can see, the Eurosystem acceptance testing is ongoing and progressing well. And this is the testing phase where the Eurosystem is checking the software quality and test it, and also see if it's meeting the requirements that are specified. Prior to this, we also had the internal acceptance testing. So you saw that on the slides in February, but I removed it now, where the 4CB, which acts as a service provider for your system, were also ensuring that the quality is sufficiently well. As of early July, the central bank testing, so the CBT phase, started, during which the Eurosystem NCBs are checking the software for its quality, and also seeing integration on their side. And this is also the phase that is used by the NCBs to get certified for the go live. So also the central banks need to pass several certification test cases, and we go more into detail on this later on to be allowed to migrate to production. Parallel to the start of the central bank testing phase, we have also opened the Pontes application to market actors for the connectivity testing. So also as of early July, this has started, and they are currently preparing to start with the user testing phase planned for early August. So going to the actual dates that are relevant for market actors, I think, that want to join in Q3 2026, so on the 21st of September. Whoever I think wants to participate in the go live is already working, I assume, on the connectivity and has already submitted a registration form for the U-test environment to the National Service Desk. So, I mean, this is no news for you, but you will need to resubmit the registration form to register actually for the production environment. And here we have indicated on this slide the 7th of August as a deadline to have a guarantee that the new certificates that you will require for the connection to production are being issued by August 14th. Again, this is just to have that guarantee. So you can also submit the registration form in the following week. But if you want to have a guarantee that you can start with connectivity tests to the production environment, please submit your registration form for production by the 7th of August. This will then enable you to start with the connectivity testing to the production environment as of the 14th of August. And again, as said, this is the indicative deadline also in general to submit your registration form for production to be in a position to go live on the 21st of September. Again, this does not rule out that you could also join if you submit your registration form a bit later than that. But I think due to capacity planning, the testing that you will need to do for connectivity to the production environment and so on and so forth, and I think also given our ambitious timeline, I think this is a reasonable date. Then what you can also see here is that connectivity testing phase to the production environment, where we'll also have a new certification authority, which is very technical, but I think the colleagues and the participants that are already in that process know what I'm referring to is changing, and we have that connectivity phase from the 14th to the 28th of August for the production environment. Then as of the 11th of September, you will need to have submitted at the latest the testing evidence to your National Service Desk. So you will need to pass, depending on the type of market actor that you are, several participation test cases, and you will need to provide evidence to that to your National Service Desk. And here, as George also said before, I think the most important part of all of our presentations today is please be in contact with your National Service Desk, is that you are in a position to provide the evidence for this. Then after the go live in late September, we will have a stabilization phase of 2 weeks. And there we will make sure that the system is working as expected. And afterwards, you will be able to join again to production. Good. And with that high-level overview and some additional details, I will now go even further into details on the user testing phase. So I think we can move to the next slide. So just to recap also, what is the user testing phase about? It is, I mean, obviously conducted in the Pontes U-test environment, so a dedicated testing environment that is open for market actors as well as for central banks. It should enable the market participants and the market DD operators to test the functionality of the Pontes application, and thereby also validating in the application-to-application manner the integration between Pontes and your systems. It also serves as an environment for you to complete the mandatory certification test cases. And again, you will receive further details on this later on that are required to be allowed to migrate to the production environment. And in general, it also serves for you to be in a position to get familiar with the Pontes application. For support and registration, I'm repeating myself, but please get in touch with your National Service Desk, and they will be your first point of contact and will support you in the process. Moving to the next slide, for the start of user testing that I mentioned earlier as well. So this is planned to start beginning of August, following the approval of the Market Infrastructure Board. Until the official start of the user testing phase, so basically in the current period that has started as of July, I mean, market participants can already test connectivity, but the support provided by the national central banks and foresee will focus solely on connectivity-related matters. And as of the official start of the user testing phase, also please feel free to raise any incidents. Then in relation to the entry criteria, and I don't want to bore you here, but you can find all the entry criteria relevant for the start of the user testing phase in the Pontes pilot testing strategy, which is a document that is published on the ECB website under the Pontes for Professional Use page. I think what is relevant here also to mention is, I mean, the participants need to have completed for the registration for the user testing phase, I think, which is very obvious. You need to be in a position, or you need to have successfully conducted the connectivity tests to the user environment. Your national central bank needs to have confirmed that it is ready to support you in your user testing. And also it must have confirmed that the reference data setup, which you will have provided with the registration form to your national service desk, is correctly set up. Moving to the next slide, a document which I think is very important and also again published on the EC website is the testing terms of reference. So contrary to what we have in the other target services, for instance, where the CBT phase and the EIT phase are happening or conducted in a dedicated test environment, which is only accessible within the Eurosystem. We are now having 3 test phases, so the Eurosystem acceptance testing, the central bank testing, and the user testing conducted in one single shared environment. And the testing terms of reference details basically the testing activities, the entry and exit criteria, but also the roles and responsibilities of the different testing actors. And you will also find further information on the environment schedule. While I think here it is important to highlight also that now as of the early July and the start of the central bank testing phase, the Pontes user environment is actually operating in live timing mode. So again, this is very technical, but please have a look in the testing terms of reference for further information. From Mondays to Thursdays, again, we have live timing, excluding only Fridays, because this is the day where you usually have deployments taking place. And also August 13th is exempt from that. Moving to the next slide. So again, we are sharing one environment, but I think communication and reporting is in general very important during the testing phase. And for this, the Pontes operator, so the 4CB, will provide on a daily basis information about what is the status of the Pontes user environment, and also indicating there if there are any issues. And also we have actually a node-specific monitoring in place, and the National Service Desk are also distributing that information to the relevant market actors if there's any issue. On top of that, also, the National Service Desk will receive on a weekly basis a list of open defects and incidents, also with their proposed deployment date for the fixes. And also this list will be shared with the market actors participating in user testing. In parallel to this, we are also already working, obviously, on resolving any issues. But in case there are any restrictions as of the start of the user testing phase, also the National Service Desk will promptly notify you if you're participating in the user testing phase, and also provide workarounds if necessary. And then, I mean, this is very obvious for anybody that has tested software, but obviously, if you find any bugs or unexpected behavior as of the start of the user testing phase, please open an incident with the service desk, and also in line with the process that is described in the terms of reference. Moving to the next slide, and now we're getting into the onboarding, and I think we can also move one slide further. So what we are trying to provide here is actually a high-level onboarding checklist. So just the necessary steps in a more or less logical sequence of what we deem to be important to be in a position to onboard to Pontes. So the first item, I think, also is obvious, but I wanted to highlight this again. So we have a service description document and a user handbook. And both documents, I think, are very important, and you should read them. If you are a market participant and you are looking for a market DLT operator, and I think also this is a question that we've heard repeatedly, please contact your national service desk. We are currently working on getting a list of market DLT operators that are open for business, let's put it this way, in Pontes, and then also to further distribute this within the Eurosystem. If you want to register, so if you want to, if you require a registration form, also please contact your national service desk, who are happy to help you with that. Then once you have that Pontes registration form, you will need to fill it out, obviously. So I'm referring to the reference data and static data. You will need to create cryptographic keys. Also, you will find further information on that in the service description document and in dedicated training material that was already prepared and I think distributed. And you will also need to generate a certificate signing request and submit it to your NSD. So also this is very technical, but you have further information for the ones that are interested in the service description document. Then you will need to establish a connectivity to the Pontes Utils environment. For this, we also have further information in the service description documents. You will need to conduct the mandatory certification test cases in Utils environments. Then once you've done that, or also in parallel, you can already submit the registration form for production to your national service desk. Once you have the certificates, you can establish the connectivity to the production environment. And then at the end, you just need to provide evidence of having passed the mandatory certification test cases to your national service desk to be allowed to move to production. And moving to the next slide, just a bit more details. And I don't know for the sake of time if I need to go through all of the steps again, but I want to quickly summarize this. So the service description document is basically for the ones that know the target services like the UDFS, so the user detailed functional specifications, and it describes the functionality and the key flows that are provided by the Pontes application. You also find further information on the connectivity and on how to generate the certificate signing request and so on and so forth. And that service description document is furthermore complemented by the Open API, and I think that's the first for your system. It's a Swagger file basically that provides specification of the application programming interfaces and the endpoints that are available, and also this is published on the ECB website. Then we have the user handbook, and this is entirely similar to the target services. So this is a document that describes the full range of functionalities that are available in the user to application mode. So all the screens that are relevant in the graphic user interface of the Pontes application. Here, also, I'm repeating myself, but we really ask you to work in partnership with your national service desk. Important elements here for the registration form are, for instance, the IP address whitelisting. So we are working with whitelisting for Pontes, and also for the key generation and the certificate signing request. We offer you 2 ways, basically. There's a web-based tool, and URL will be provided by the national service desk. So you don't need to install any additional applications locally, but you can actually use a web-based tool. And also this is completely secure because the keys that are being generated are just generated on your local machine. So the server on our side will not see the keys whatsoever. Or you can use tools such as OpenSSL or other open source tools to generate the key pair locally and also to generate the certificate signing request locally. Moving to the next slides. So once you actually indicated that you're interested in participating in the testing, the first step would be that you establish connectivity to the Utils environment, and I've provided you here with the links for that. And we actually have 2 dedicated endpoints. So we have one endpoint that is there to check that you have a point-to-point connectivity. So basically, this shows that the application knows about your IP address and it has been whitelisted correctly. So again, IP address and the whitelisting is part of the registration process, and you will provide it in the registration form to your national service desk. And then we have a dedicated endpoint and a dedicated URL for this, which is for the MTLS handshake, so the mutual transport layer security. And this is a step that you can perform once you have received the signed certificates by the 4CB service desk. And if you have a green check on this, so basically if you have successfully reached that endpoint, it shows that you have a secure and trusted communication with the application. Then on top of that, also for the authentication purposes, so once you have successfully conducted the two above connectivity tests, you can actually authenticate with your user and confirm full connectivity either in the U2A or in the A2A mode. So for the U2A mode, what is important to highlight here is basically that we have a dedicated URL per node, so basically referencing the NCB that is responsible for you, and you will find the dedicated node names that are then to be inserted here in this URL in the Swagger file that is, so the Open API specification that is published on this website. And what is really important here, and again, this is very technical, but we've seen that this is an issue sometimes, is that basically the application is mapping information in the certificate signing request with the information, how you have set it up in the registration form, and also how you have set it up in the identity and access management component of the Pontes application. Again, further information details are available on this, but I wanted to highlight this here again. And then, yes, moving to the next slide. So actually on certification testing and the conceptual logic here, because I think we have received quite some questions on this. So we have defined several test cases that need to be passed before you are allowed to move to production. And which test cases you need to pass depends, first of all, on the type of market actor that you are, so either a market participant or a market DAT operator. And then it also depends on the settlement method you use. So as you know, we can either settle in cash tokens or directly in T2 RTGS. And then it might also depend, or it will also depend on the use case. So either wholesale payments or what we call the XVP. So for the ones from T2S, this is either delivery versus payment or payment versus payment functionality. And then based on these criteria, there's a set of mandatory certification test cases that is published on the ETH website. We are actually also in the process of updating this again, but I think it can already serve as a high-level indication for what we have. And please always go back to this, be in close contact with your national service desk to get information if there is any update on this. Very good. Moving to the next slide. So preparations for production and going live. Again, as I mentioned already on the first slide, I think, for production, you need to fill out again a registration form. You need to share a certificate signing request for production. My latest understanding here is that actually you can reuse the ones that you have also used for the U-test environment, so there's no need to regenerate them. This is still pending a bit confirmation by technical experts, but this is the latest information that I have. And then you need to provide evidence again at the latest by 11th of September to your national service desk that you have successfully passed the mandatory certification test cases. And then also here something that I said earlier, but I want to repeat this. So once you have received your signed certificates for the production environment, please retest connectivity. So the same endpoints that I had inserted URLs here for the U-test environment, just change the URL, remove the U-test in the beginning and retest connectivity and make sure that this also works. Again, that confirms that the service provider has received your registration form, the IP whitelisting is implemented, and also that the MTLS works as expected. And then you can actually go live, and we would be very happy to welcome you there. And with this, I would actually close my presentation. I think that was a lot of information in a very condensed manner. I've seen that there's a lot of questions already, but first back to you, Aline.
Thank you, Vitus. Exactly, great. Lots of information there. We have a number of questions coming in. Some of them you have covered already. I will just give you a few seconds to breathe here and look at some of the questions coming in. For the ones who have not already done so, you can again file your questions via the QR code. But Vitus referred to a lot of documents that you can find on the ECB website. So I'm just going to show this to you. Again, your most important tab on the ECB website is Payments and Financial Stability. That's on the top bar. You click on this and you come to this page again with the quick links that we love. We love the quick links. We have the target professional use documents and links, 2 places because it's that important. You have it under the quick links and you have it under the target services. When you click on the target services professional use, you come to this page. And this page is the entry point to all information, technical information on our services. Today, you're joining the session on Pontes, so I'm sure you're interested in the Pontes documents and links. So you will click on this one, and that's going to take you to this page. On this page is exactly what Vitus was referring to. This page, you will find everything you need to be able to do your tests or any other technical documents that you need to conduct your user testing. So that's a super important page to remember and use. So I just wanted to highlight that for everybody. And then again, keep shooting your questions. You are very awake now, I must say, and we have a lot of questions coming in. We have some overall questions about the higher level of testing. So maybe I just want to bring Andre back in, if we still have Andre with us. Yes, we do. Excellent, Andre. So we have a few questions, maybe more on sort of the overall approach to testing. So, give us a few words on that, please.
Yeah, super. Thanks, Ellen. And first of all, Vitus, thanks a lot for this presentation. I think that was very important and helpful. I indeed would like to provide a little bit of a framing of the current situation. I mean, first of all, we are very much looking forward and working very hard to enable the user testing as of beginning of August, because we believe this is an absolute fundamental part of this journey, and this is the ultimate step that we need to make sure that the software is working as expected. Having said, this is a new service, and therefore we are running also additional test phases with our partners in the national banks and other participants in parallel. Meaning we know and we are aware that there are still remaining issues within the software that we are working on, and you might be in a situation when you start the user testing that you will observe some of these shortcomings. So that's absolutely what we have in our mind, but still we believe it is so important to also get your feedback that we definitely want to enable this testing phase for the users now in parallel. Overall, the situation will be very closely monitored also by the Market Infrastructure Board. It's a board that consists of members of the national banks and the European Central Bank. And here we are basically taking the decisions whether additional releases are required and when we can ultimately then also give the go and no-go for go live. And I think there were also a few questions related to the onboarding by itself. Please keep in mind, of course, you're welcome to kind of register now, but there is a continuous momentum for getting onboarded. So also beyond of the go live, you can always provide your application, and then we will make sure that you get onboarded as fast as possible. And for the actual go live, we are also planning very detailed mechanisms to support you and to guide you through the initial use cases, so that we make sure that the experience will be as expected from day one. I think this is a bit of a framing of the overall situation, but I see that there are now also a lot of more detailed questions on the various aspects, and for that I'm happy to give it back to my colleagues, Vitus and Co.
Thank you, Andre. Exactly. I think that was good just to frame it a bit. And then I want to bring that Vitus. So you're back here. There's a number of questions. I think you have mentioned them, but let's highlight again. Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Andre, for summarizing this again. So I think one of the questions was on the ambitious timeline. I think we are very, very aware of this. And we know that it is summer period and so on and so forth. So obviously you can onboard also later. On the question, so there was one question. Let me just read it out. So there's almost no market DLT operator available in UTest. So how to perform the DVP test cases? I think first of all, as I mentioned, we are currently working on getting actually the consent of the market DLT operators to further distribute information on who is in UTest and who not. So also to make sure that any market participant that would like to perform tests does have a market DLT operator. But also, again, what I want to highlight here, and this is something that I also covered, I think, during the presentation, is actually you only need to pass the mandatory DVP test cases if you perform the DVP, then also in production. So your national central bank has the possibility to grant you an exemption. And if you do not intend to make use of the DVP in production, which I think is likely if you don't have a market DLT operator yet, then you would also need to pass that test case. I would also try to cover another question in relation to the certificates that have been generated for the UTest environments. And also there, I think I covered this in the presentation, but let me just quickly repeat this. So for technical reasons, because the certification authority is changing from the UTest environment to the production environment, also the certificates need to be regenerated. So I think it is very important that if you want to go live in production, then you also request certificates for the UTest environment. And this actually has security considerations. So we don't want to be in a position that whoever might have access in UTest can also just make use of this certificate for production. So I think it was a good consideration. And then we also had one question on the number of mandatory test cases. So I think this is very much related to the earlier question that indicated that there was an issue in finding market DLT operators. And also here, it is very important that you first understand what is your actual business and use case that you will make use of in production. And once you have understood this, also you can discuss with your national service desk whether you can receive an exemption or whether you actually need a testing partner. For instance, for the DVP test cases. But here, it is only mandatory if you also perform DVP then in production, and you can only perform this, I think, in a meaningful manner if you have a market DLT operator. So for whomever that would be mandatory, we assume that there should also be a market DLT operator available. And I think these are the questions.
Thank you,
that I could answer for now. Thanks.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much. And remember, everybody, all the slides will be on the website, so you can go back and view them. I know there's a lot of information, as always, in these focus sessions. It is intense, so buckle up before you join them. But the material will be posted. So thanks a lot, Vitus, for clarifying all this. Again, the QR code is here, so you can keep shooting questions to us. And then I want to move on with the program, because we have our next speaker with us, Matej, who will talk about the operational and legal aspects of Pontes. So I want to see if we can bring in Matej. We have Matej coming in here. So welcome, Matej, and over to you.
Morning, Aline, and thank you very much. And indeed, it's a busy summer and we're getting ready for operations as indicated for September. I would like to present you the work we've been doing with the team in the last year on the operational framework, as we would like to call it, and give you an update on the legal documentation. So let's jump to the next slide. Further, please. And indeed, so here you can see the main deliverables or building blocks of the operational framework, as we would like to call them, where the foundation is the operation documentation. Then we have communication tools and channels for disseminating information internally and externally. And then the last bit is the operational related tests, or ORTs as we'd like to call them. So a set of predefined tests that we execute with relevant stakeholders to make sure that everyone is ready for the go live and knows how to properly and timely react if there are any operational issues. Let's move then 2 slides forward. So another one, please. And let's start with the operation documentation, because this is, let's say, our bread and butter and the core document for the Pontes initial launch. It's going to be what we call the product operational terms of reference, or TOR. So this is a document that defines and describes the scope of the operational framework, then defines the roles of the relevant stakeholders, in this case, the service providing central banks, national central banks, and the ECB coordination function, describes how the business day looks like, so with the key phases of the business day and what you can expect during the normal day. And then we move into the procedures that we apply in day-to-day business, or as we'd like to call them, normal and abnormal situations. So day-to-day business and incident crisis management and business continuity. It's important to highlight that the TOR, so the terms of reference, it's not a public document. It's available only to the central banks. But nevertheless, we made an extract of the document with the relevant chapters for the market participants. And those that are active in the target world will be familiar with the concept of an info guide. So we publish on the ECB webpage, and Aline already mentioned several times the ECB webpage for professional users, where you can find this document. And the document actually has an extract of the relevant chapters from the TOR that will help you with your day-to-day operations. Here, maybe it's also worth mentioning that the info guide, of course, it's public, but this does not preclude that if you reach out to your national central banks prepare additional operational documentation or use the info guide to build their own stack of operational documentation. So please get in touch with them and see what they have in plan for you. If we then move to the next slide, and this is actually the timeline for the 2 documents. We started preparing the TOR already 1 year ago, last summer, and went through several iterations, review cycles with central banks. We managed to finalize it at the end of May. Then it went to our Market Infrastructure Board, or MIB, for approval in June. And this then helped us to stabilize the content for the info guide that was drafted and reviewed in June and published at the beginning of July. So the exact date was the 8th of July, and you will find in the bottom there also the link directly to the document. We can then move to the next set, and these are the communication tools. And another slide, please. So this is a diagram that you will find in the info guide, and shows the 3 main channels that the market participants will use to get access to Pontes information, so the day-to-day information. On your left, you see the ECB, and we will provide, and I will show you further on, how it's going to look like a daily status update. So on the ECB webpage, you will be able to see the status of the system, when the system opens in the morning, when the system closes in the evening, and if there are any ongoing production incidents, and when these incidents are going to be resolved. You will be able to subscribe to these notifications, and you will receive real-time push email notifications in your inbox. Then your main counterparty for any kind of inquiries, questions, or if you have any technical problems are going to be your central banks and their national service desk. So if you have any questions, always liaise directly with your central banks. There is one exception that you can see on the right, and this is in case you would have connectivity problems, then you can directly contact the service providers, service providing central banks that will troubleshoot with you the technical issues and help you to solve this problem. Regarding the contact details for the National Service Desk and the service providing central banks, please liaise with your respective central banks, and they will provide you with these contact details, email addresses, and relevant telephone numbers that you can use in case you have. We can move then to the next slide, and this is the status update box, as we would like to call it. You can see demo that we prepared, and this is how it's going to look once we go live in September with Pontes. Those that are familiar with the target services probably saw this already in the past. And as I said, we will provide daily updates of what's going on with the system, live updates, morning message, opening, evening message when we close, and if there is anything going in between. You are able to subscribe to these notifications, and the colleagues put the example where you can click on a link under the box, and you will be able to select the individual services that you're interested to receive updates. In this case, you can subscribe only to Pontes if you wish, or to all the target services. And then, as said, you will provide predefined email address where we would like to receive these notifications, and then every time something happens, you receive a push notification directly in your inbox. We can move then to the next part, and these are the ORTs. So for the ORTs, this is a set of tests that we plan to execute now during the summer. It's something that is going to be keeping us for sure busy. And we plan to execute these tests with the national central banks and the service providing central banks. So it's important to highlight that we don't expect active involvement of market participants here. And also worth mentioning that this is part of our predefined go-no-go criteria. So we need to make sure that all the relevant stakeholders know how to properly and timely react. And we need to make sure that these tests are executed successfully. Let's then maybe move to the legal aspects and just give you an update where we stand with the legal documentation. This is normally quite a hot topic, and there are normally a lot of questions. So for the Pontes initial launch, we need to prepare a dedicated legal framework, and the underlying legal documentation was under drafting the past months. We now reach the final stage of this process, but it's also worth mentioning that the legal documentation, why is the legal documentation important, and there are always a lot of questions about it. So the legal documentation on one side will help establish the contractual relationship between the Eurosystem central banks, as you can see in the box above, and then through the what we call predefined templates for terms and conditions will help the national central banks to prepare their contractual relationships with the market participants. If we move to the next slide, and regarding the timeline where we stand, so the legal documentation, the package is now finalized. It was submitted to the Eurosystem decision-making bodies for approval. And we expect this whole package to be approved by the end of July, beginning of August, taking into consideration the summer. Important piece of information here are the templates, because normally we receive questions when the templates will be ready. The templates are ready and were submitted last evening to the central banks. So I assume that the central banks will approach in the upcoming days to start the work on the terms and conditions. So this is, I think, an important achievement, and will help to finalize this important work. So as said, if you have any questions on the legal aspects or the terms and conditions, you can directly liaise this with your respective central banks. And I think with this, Ellen, I'm done with my presentation, and we'll check if there are any questions. There was maybe one question that I already saw that we exchanged earlier, was the question around the list of market DLT operators and business cases, because this is a question that we receive quite often, and we indeed plan to produce such a list and publish it on the ECB webpage. We're currently working on it together with the central bank so that we collect the names of the DLT operators and their business cases. And so when we compile this, we will publish it on the ECB webpage and share it with the market contact group and with the central banks. Thank you.
Thank you, Matej. No, very good point. And this was indeed asked a few times, so good to clarify that. And that's, of course, why you should all join our social media channel, our LinkedIn page, or the newsletter, because then you will receive immediate updates when such a list is available. So that's just a quick advertisement for that. But again, scan your questions in. I'm just going to give Matej 30 seconds because there are a number of questions coming in on the operational aspects. And then I just wanted to briefly show you again what Matej was saying, because you might now go to the webpage, your favorite place, payments, financial stability again. And on this page, you can, if you click here, you will see the target services. And if you click on the target services, you actually come to exactly the page that Matej was referring to, operational status of the target services. And this is the page where the Pontes box will be added. Of course, it's not added yet because the system isn't live, but it will be added here when the system goes live. So that's the place to stay updated on the status of the operational status. So that's just for everyone to know. So remember to save payments, financial stability as your favorite here on the ECB website, and you can get to anything you want in the future. So let's go back. So questions. So this is, we are rounding up the Pontes part of this focus session. But let me see. So there's a few questions coming. I think Matej has been good and answered most of them already, but maybe we bring him back because there is a question, Matej, on performance expectation, limits, volumes, transactions in Pontes. Do you want to say a few words on that?
No, yes, indeed. And this is a question that we discussed with the market participants in the past. You will find the, let's say, let's call them KPIs regarding system performance in the info guide, in the relevant section, and on the volume values limits. We indeed discussed this in the past. There, for the Pontes initial launch, some initial limits on the volume and value on the volume in order to properly size the system, on the value in order to make sure that not too much liquidity is trapped in the system in case there would be any issues which could have a potential spillover systemic impact on target. And also these figures are defined in the info guide. It's important to highlight that these limits are soft limits, so they're not hardly enforced. If our participants would go beyond them, this just then help us to better understand maybe the future evolution of the business and the need to upgrade the system in the near future. I think there was another question. Let me just quickly on the operational test, if we give a bit more background on this. Sure. So as I said, the operational test will be executed with the central banks and the service providers, central banks, so what we call the 4CB in upcoming months. The focus, we have three types of tests here that we are testing. One, it's pure communication tools to make sure that all the settlement crisis managers are reachable in case we would have any incidents, issues. Then we have the service providing central banks will test all the business continuity procedures and tests, so different types of failovers in case there are technical issues with the nodes. And then we have individual scenarios that could go from an insolvency of a participant to a delay closure to potentially scenarios where liquidity or tokens will remain on the wallets overnight due to technical issues with defunding. So these are, let's say, our day-to-day business cases that we need to test and make sure that we are ready for September.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Matej. I think that sort of rounds it up for the operational aspect. I think we've covered most of the other questions already. Maybe there was one question on non-banks. We just clarify that non-banks, PSPs, they can already, as many of you know, of course, participate in the target services as of October last year. And they are also then eligible then to participate in Pontes as market participants. Again, speak to your local central bank on this. So thanks for everyone here. So we are rounding up a little bit on the Pontes part. But as Andrea said at the beginning, Pontes and Appia is a single program. So what we will do now is move to an update on the Appia side of the puzzle. So with that, I want to bring in our next speakers. So to cover the last bit on where we stand on the Appia program, I have two speakers with me. Holger, I believe, will speak first, and then Andrea Paul will take over. So Holger first, over to you. Latest on the Appia.
Yes. On the latest news there. So you are aware that in our common program, and as you can see on the next slide, also the Appia initiative is the cornerstone of the Eurosystem strategy to provide central bank money with innovative tokenized wholesale financial markets that leverage technologies as, for example, distributed ledger technology. As regards our roadmap, our work is logically structured in building blocks, so which will be developed in particular via analytical and practical work, and also standardization. The work on the building blocks that you can see here will inform the Eurosystem and market stakeholders about the feasibility of implementation options. To recall, the 6 building blocks are asset interoperability and standards, it's monetary policy and collateral management on DLT. It's the European tokenized central bank money infrastructure or structures for which tokenized central bank money will be provided in Europe. And it's about the international dimension and cross-border links. In a few minutes, Paul will provide more details on these four building blocks. The remaining 2 are actually, is number 5 is about analysis to ensure that the new ecosystem is innovative, safe, and resilient new ecosystem. The building block 6 is about the implementation strategy and impact on existing infrastructures, which is something on which we will, of course, come back later when establishing the blueprint and the implementation strategy is more time event. So on the next slide, you actually, see then on the consultation that we have had, where we had a high and a diverse participation. So we had actually, in the 20-question survey, solicited feedback on the Appia roadmap and proposals to contribute to Appia, which is part of our program on the tokenization. The submission period was from 11 March to 22nd of April. And in that time, we got 127 submissions from stakeholders across sectors and geographies, of whom 116 expressed an interest to contribute. So this compares pretty much to, for example, the target opening hours consultation. On the next slide, some more details on this consultation. The feedback is that actually there's a broad alignment with the Eurosystem seeking to leverage DLT and to achieve its objectives. Those objectives include ensuring the effectiveness of monetary policy and financial stability, and maintaining central bank money as the anchor of a 2-tier system, monetary system, for the smooth functioning of payment systems. It's about fostering a more integrated, competitive, and innovative payments and securities ecosystem through efficient infrastructures for financial markets, supporting the strategic autonomy and increased resilience, and ensuring the relevance of the euro as an international currency through an active market for payments and securities. Then you see that actually the market also appreciated and confirmed that the approach of a public-private partnership. It welcomes that diverse stakeholders are involved. And they also supported that actually there's a structured engagement and innovation. Market participants also appreciated the evidence-based approach that we are proposing. The market then highlighted that central bank services on DLT as a foundation are important. And in particular, tokenized central bank money and collateral mobilization of DLT native assets are seen as a priority by the market. As regards the question whether central bank money settlement will be possible on a single network or on a multitude of networks, market participants flagged the usefulness to analyze further the trade-offs between these options and highlighted that in their view, interoperability will in any case be an essential feature. This goes hand in hand with the next point that there is a broad support for standardization and also for clear governance. The market also recommended that in their view, the options for any implementation and for further development should be narrowed down over time toward a defined target design. Then Paul will go, as said, over the building blocks.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So indeed, Holger presented in broad strokes the feedback that we have received in the consultation. What I would like to do now is to walk you through some of the initial scoping of activities to progress Appia that we've identified, building on this, specifically on this feedback. So we've just seen that in the consultation on the Appia roadmap, standardization was underlined as a key enabler of an integrated tokenized ecosystem, going hand in hand also with the importance of having interoperability efficiently implemented. This corresponds in our Appia roadmap to the first building block we had set out that you see here on the screen. And we have progressed on some initial ideas and activities on how to go about developing this. The objective is to come up at the level of the overall industry with a European framework that would enable tokenized financial services to seamlessly interact across infrastructures, providers, and jurisdictions, interacting end-to-end across the value chain and the life cycle of assets. We've just seen before in the Pontes use cases that all of these aspects were core functions that were explored with tokenization. So in line with the feedback received in the consultation, we have identified different layers of standards that would be needed to achieve this objective and that need to be considered not only from a technical perspective, but also from a legal and operational perspective. The first set of standards relates to asset representation, transactions. This includes thinking of identifiers, metadata, taxonomies. The idea here is to make sure that assets and their representation remain consistently usable and interpretable across infrastructures and providers. A second category of standards that will also be needed to achieve this objective includes standards at the level of the distributed ledger infrastructures that underpin tokenization. So this includes considering topics such as consensus mechanisms, resiliency, security, and how this is ensured in these new distributed infrastructures. The third category of standards to achieve this objective focuses more on the policy and the legal foundations of tokenized financial markets. This is where the standards will need to look into the legal recognition of tokenized assets, how ownership rights are represented, how settlement finality is ensured, liability structures, and supervisory mandates. The approach will be to progress on all of these three layers of standards, building first and foremost on the existing frameworks and initiatives that are there in the market, where several organizations and several initiatives have already proposed some standards. The idea will be to build on that and the existing breadth of expertise in the market. To do so, the Eurosystem will want to engage with the market and all relevant stakeholders across Europe to foster these standards, bringing the industry together to progress on all these different layers. We are now currently doing preparatory work to set up this engagement. This will start in 2026 after the summer. If we go to the next slide, here you will see another clear priority that was underlined in the consultation on the APIA roadmap relates to central banking on DLT and in a DLT ecosystem, how this would be implemented. In particular, the feedback covered how tokenized central bank money could be provided on different types of networks in the future, and how collateral mobilization of native DLT assets could be operationalized directly on DLT platforms. So this corresponds to APIA building blocks 2 and 3 that we had presented in our roadmap. On tokenized central bank money, of course, Pontes is a first step. What we will want to explore in APIA now are different approaches and complementary features that would enable tokenized central bank money to be provided, including, for instance, on shared networks. We will set up initial experimentation with a focus on governance, so exploring how to translate the necessary governance requirements for central banks to maintain control over issuance, redemption, and management of tokenized central bank money, leveraging also the capabilities of the technology. I think this was one question that we also received during this session. So this will be typically the type of the benefits of the technology that we will want to explore under APIA in a more forward-looking way, complementing what is already being implemented in production with Pontes. On the collateral side, so you of course know that your system already accepts tokenized asset as collateral through the mobilization process in existing infrastructures. A first mobilization under this approach already took place. Here, building on the feedback we've received in APIA, we will also explore different and complementary approaches, including that would enable the mobilization of assets directly on DLT for your system credit operations. We will also consider, as part of that, what functionalities of our current system, ECMS, can be leveraged to facilitate this. So this will be another topic that we will explore in experimentations that have already started now, with results expected also now and in 2027. Taking both of these aspects together, the tokenized central bank money and the tokenized collateral, so the starting point for us will be these experimentations on what we call foundational aspects of central banking on DLT. We will explore here under APIA different governance models and different network configurations. This includes also the single versus multiple network approaches that was highlighted as an important trade-off to explore in the consultation. This will be included in these experimentations. In parallel to the experimentations, we will also assess in the Eurosystem what type of policy framework could be needed in the future to provide our services on shared networks. This includes, for the collateral mobilization side, assessing possible updates to our eligibility framework to consider new types of platforms that could become eligible beyond the existing ones. And on the central bank money side, this will follow the importance of translating our governance and control requirements in the context of shared networks. We will progress with these experimentations, and we will share learnings and the results with the market through our stakeholder engagement strategy. I will come back to that in a few slides to gather feedback on this. Then we move to the next slide. So a last building block where we have already scoped some activities relates to Appia Building Block 4, the international dimension and cross-border links, where, of course, as Holger recalled, it's important to consider from the start how a European tokenized ecosystem would be connected internationally. This requires, in particular, considering how a two-tier monetary system, including central bank money and private settlement assets, can interact. The two types of assets here, private settlement assets and central bank money, are complementary for a well-functioning payment ecosystem, and we will want to explore this domestically and internationally. On this specific aspect, one promising approach to explore is Project Agora, to which the Eurosystem participates and several European market stakeholders also actively participate, because this project explores specifically what I've mentioned, the implementation of a two-tier monetary system on DLT. This includes exploring how tokenized deposits and tokenized central bank money can be interlinked to deliver end-to-end programmable settlement of cross-border transactions. On the specific Project Agora, to which we participate, a first prototype was completed earlier this year, and real value transactions are planned to further test the capabilities of the prototype in realistic settings. So we will want to explore this approach and more widely how to implement this two-tier monetary system on DLT. One aspect, of course, is to explore through experimentations and prototypes. Another one is to look at the legal and the policy implications of that, which we will also want to go into. So this includes considering how fungibility between private settlement assets and central bank money is operationally ensured, under which responsibility. So this will include analyzing questions like responsibilities for clearing different private settlement assets in central bank money. If we move to the next slide, to summarize, these were initial activities that we have scoped in line with the feedback we've received. So we've already incorporated some of the takeaways from the consultation on the Appia roadmap. The first next step will be to come back after summer with the publication of the full results of this consultation. This will be later this year. And we will also come back with additional activities, analytical work, practical work, and experimentations, including involving market stakeholders. We will come back to that later this year. So this was an initial scoping that we present today, but we will come back with more information. As was already mentioned by George, we will also be setting up the Appia contact group in September, and we'll announce the composition soon. This group will be leveraged to continue the market engagement across the overall program for both Pontes and Appia. And this will include gathering ideas and market feedback, and specifically in the case of Appia, to also practice this joint collaborative approach that we've already set out in the roadmap, and where Holger recalled that the public-private partnership is essential to the success of the project. On standardizations, as I've mentioned, there will be a dedicated engagement that will begin later this year after the summer. And we will also continue to have regularly these focus sessions to keep you updated and engage with you as we progress the project. So with this, I will hand it back over to you, Ellen.
Thank you, Paul. Super nice with the overview on the Appia project as well here. If we keep Paul on, there is one question maybe that we have received on the Pontes Appia. It's about, so let me read, because you didn't have time to read. Do the Pontes and Appia work streams look into programmability aspects of the wholesale central bank money? Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yes, happy to do so. So indeed, we are looking more generally into how the technology can be leveraged to implement the financial services we know today. So this includes, as I said, on our side, translating the activities we do with central banking on DLT. This includes then looking into indeed features like programmability, like management of different smart contracts that we could use as central banks to manage central bank money, also to mobilize asset as collateral. That's one aspect. And we also be keen to look more broadly into how this can be used across the value chain. This includes also by the markets for their own services. And the key focus will then be to understand what are the design requirements so that central bank services and market services can seamlessly interact on these new types of infrastructures. We've already presented here one example from Project Agora of how this can be done in the context of tokenized deposits and central bank money, but we will also want to look into that more broadly for overall market services, so including for securities, for clearing, and all the other ranges of services.
Super, thank you so much, Paul. We have Holger here too. Is there anything else that we need to clarify on the Appia workstream before I let you guys take a rest? No, I think that's it. But the colleagues have their last few chances to submit their questions, and while they do that, let me just quickly invite all the participants to do a little bit for us. So now we have been doing something for you. So now we would love to get your quick feedback. So if you would just scan this QR code, and it's just like multiple choice, super simple, 2 minutes to complete, fill in, give us the feedback, because that will help us improve the sessions. We do these sessions for you, so we really want to do them the way that are best for you. So if you could just give us this feedback while you consider if you have any more questions that you want to clarify before the summer holiday really kicks in, then at the same time, just give us that feedback. It's really valuable to us. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about this session. And then, we will be coming back with more events after the summer. So, give us what you have so we can do them as well as possible. So we're just going to pause here for 30 seconds and let you do it. Very good. And then unless we have more questions, I think we've managed to cover most of all the questions asked so far. We want to slowly come to the end of this event. And for this, I have Andrea with me again, I believe. So if we move, yes, super. So Andrea, that was a lot of information covered in a very short period of time. So it is a heavy session. And remember, everybody, it will be on the website very shortly. We will upload the full recording and all the slides so you can revisit. And with that, I want to give the floor to you, Andre. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ellen. And first of all, a big thanks to also you, your colleagues, and the entire team for these updates. I think that have been quite a few presentations with a lot of content. And I hope it has given everyone a clearer picture where the Eurosystem currently stands on both Pontes and Appia, and of the opportunities you all have to work with alongside us in the coming weeks and months. I think in the coming weeks, you will already be able to use central bank money to settle DLT-based transactions through Pontes. As we said, we're working on the testing, and we want to make sure that the go live can happen then in September. This milestone establishes the euro as the first currency area to make this possible, actually. It will be an achievement that reflects the strengths of our collaboration with the market. But as you have heard, the Eurosystem program on tokenization will not stop there. What lies ahead of us is a genuine public-private partnership inviting broad market participants through multiple channels. The first of this is the Appia Contact Group, which will cover now both Pontes and Appia activities. Its composition is now being finalized, and we will hold its first meeting in September. All meeting documents will be published on the ECB website, reflecting our commitment for transparency. Alongside this, we will pursue deep dives and workshops. The various forums will also offer opportunities for you to share your ideas, your proof of concepts, and your use case proposals in support of both Pontes and Appia. And throughout, we aim to maintain regular communication through ECB and national bank channels with clear feedback loops so that this engagement is truly a two-way exchange. Well, now, before these work streams begin after the summer, allow me to wish all of you will have a chance to take some leave, a restful summer break. to everyone, I'm really looking forward to continue the collaboration and have a good time until then. See you.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you to all the speakers, and thanks for everyone for watching us today. Again, you have the opportunity to give us the feedback, and you have the opportunity to follow us, stay up to date on the latest news that we publish and on future events. So follow us on these channels and give us an update. And as Andre already said, we wish you all a lovely summer break, and see you again for more in September. Thanks so much, and goodbye.